Who is not struggling with depression listening to this show? Depression is part of life. I don't understand where this came up. You know, when you turn a normal human emotion into a disease, you can open up the Pandora's box of treatments. You can sell drugs for it. You can sell therapy for it. How about calling it a normal human emotion? I would think that if a person isn't depressed right now with this charlatan in the presidency, that they're psychotic. I would say anyone who's not depressed with Obama in the White House and Axelrod and Rahm Emanuel and the others around him and what they're doing to this country, I think you're crazy if you're not depressed. Houston, Texas. Adam, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Hey, I agree with your comment about depression. I wake up, the hardest part every day for me is waking up depressed. And I know there's a part of me that knows that everyone deals with it one way or another. So when
That's right, you live with it. You live with it. You struggle through it. And most of life is overcoming depression for an average person.
I agree, and it's good to hear you say that because it affirms what I already knew to be true.
I have struggled against depression my entire life. So what? I've never taken drugs for it. Never. What I found years ago, there are other methods of dealing with it, with my natural inherent sadness about life. And that's my way of life. I look at life as a very sad journey. I don't think life is very happy. I don't think life is ha-ha. I don't think it's Disneyland. And you can go under from it. You can become a drug addict from it. You know, you can do a lot of things. But I found out a long time ago, and I struggled for a long time to find the methods. There are many things you can do that aside from drugs to fight through depression, such as apply yourself and work. Do something meaningful. Devote yourself to somebody other than yourself. There are 100 things you can do, if not 1,000 things you can do, that do not require therapy and drugs. That's all. I don't understand. Everybody... You have to hide it? What's there to hide? Life is very tragic. If you lead an ordinary life, tragic things happen to you. Or if they don't happen to you, they happen in your family. If they don't happen in your family, they happen to your neighbor, or your neighborhood. And okay, so you're not listening to this show to hear this. You want entertainment because it's Friday and you want something, joking and uplifting and rock and roll Friday. I understand that. But this is not generically a ha-ha show. That's for Letterman with the canned jokes. And that's what he specialized in, and there's big money in it, and good, who paid any attention to him. But when he starts making a joke about the rape of a 14-year-old girl, that's another story. Then it becomes national news. It's a different story, that's all. Big weekend ahead of us. Us depressives out there with nothing to do till Monday, till I'm back on the air. No, it's crazy. Life is actually crazy when you're certain. I'm in such a monotonous grind that's perfect and it's paradise in its own way. I have to remind myself that this is actually paradise. This time, this profession that I have, this is actually paradise compared to what's coming. I have to remind myself about the country that we're in and what's about to come down the pike with this crazy administration in charge of everything. I've never seen anything like it. The guy doesn't stop. $800 billion for a health care overhaul? Where's the money coming from? We don't know, but we want health care overhaul. Why? Because we promised it to the left-wing crazies. Oh, yeah, and then right after that, before Labor Day, we're going to grant amnesty to 30 million illegal aliens. That should really break the bank, but we don't care. Why? Because we promised it to La Raza and Lulak. What are you people, nuts? You don't see what's going on here? So that's it. I look forward to the show every day because I work out my hostility and my depression. So what? What's wrong with that? That's a metaphor also. You're telling me that let us say, a competitive athlete is not working out something within him or herself through sports? Are you going to tell me that most entertainers, let's say strictly entertainers, don't have an animus within themselves that they're working out on stage? You don't understand entertainers if you think so. And I don't care how benign they present themselves. The fact is that they have an animus within them that needs activation through their profession, if you want to call comedy or acting or whatever a profession, which certainly it can be if you're talented at it. And I would venture to propose to you listening to this show, if you'd like to comment, that most people who achieve anything in the world have something that they were trying to prove. It's not so much that they were doing it necessarily for the good of humanity or just strictly for money. I'm talking about the real achievers on the planet, not the ordinary. Although even the ordinary achievement requires a tremendous amount of push. Where does that push come from? What is within a person that makes Sammy run? Remember the book, What Makes Sammy Run, many years ago? What's the animus within a person that would drive them so hard to succeed in some extraordinary way? I don't know. There's a lot of things working inside the human being, which was what makes us so utterly unbelievable. I mean, a dog lays on a step. You rub a dog on the stomach and give him a meal and take him for a walk. He lays on a step with his tongue out, rolls over for you to rub his belly. We're not dogs. We have higher aspirations. At least we should. That's what separates us from a dog. And if you just want to roll over and have the government rub your belly and give you a bone, go ahead, vote for Obama, because you've turned yourself into basically a pet. That's how I see it. I come from people who were immigrants. They all struggled. They wouldn't take a dime in a government handout. They'd rather throw themselves off a fire escape. Today, the government says you have to take it. You're not a good American unless you take a handout from the great Chairman Obama. It's crazy, the whole thing. It's upside down. But millions and millions of people see the world the way I do. Whether we are a diminishing number of people is the question. Whether the next generation, or let's say the younger generation, still can have a work ethic in a society like this, and whether they still want to achieve, I don't know. Certainly some do. Certainly many of you listening to the show will identify with what I'm saying, and you want to achieve, you want to climb to the stars, so to speak. What drives you, though? What drives you? Why do you want to succeed? Tell me why. It's an interesting question. If I look back on my life to the beginning, and I shouldn't do this, I know it's starting to get maybe tedious for me to be. I'm just doing a lot of soul searching now, and it's coming out on the show. I realize that. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's because of what I've been through in the last month with this crazy attack upon me by the UK government and my having to fight with every fiber of my being to get my name off that list. You think I don't talk about it since it's not bothering me? It is. And I'm not going to let go until this is done, till our justice is served. But it's also brought up a lot of things, within me, and I hope it's not throwing the show off too much. I mean, I could do the news stuff. It's very, very heavy news. There's very heavy news out there. Barney Frank walking off, Sotomayor saying she wouldn't have gotten anywhere without affirmative action. How come I didn't need affirmative action? I'm from the Bronx. Listen to clip 12. Come on. Hey,
I am a product of affirmative action. I am the perfect affirmative action baby. I am a Puerto Rican, born and raised in the South Bronx. My test scores were not comparable to that of my colleagues at Princeton or Yale. Not so far off the mark that I wasn't able to succeed at those institutions.
So now we have an affirmative action woman who wants to be a Supreme Court justice, and we're not supposed to say, wait, foul ball, there are more qualified people out there? Excuse me, what kind of country do you want to live in? Why does she deserve to be a Supreme Court justice? Simply because of her ethnicity? That's crazy. Sorry, crazy. You must have a Latino? Then find one who got in without affirmative action. How's that? Find a brilliant jurist who wrote papers that are sterling in the legal journals. Okay? Then I'm all for it, even if it's a liberal. But don't put someone in just because she's of a certain ethnicity. I don't want to live in that country. I didn't have particularly good grades. I had to struggle to get grades. But guess what? I didn't do very well on the SATs. I'm not a particularly good memorizer. I'm a thinker, but I'm not a memorizer. But I wanted higher degrees, and I had to spend extra years to achieve them. Nobody gave me affirmative action degrees in anything. In fact, I made sure that any degree I earned was actually at the top of the field. I remember to this day reading when I was a kid at Queens College that I believe it was Herbert Hoover, and I could be mistaken. I could have this wrong. I believe he was a civil engineer and that he had achieved 2 master's degrees before becoming president. I so looked up to this guy, that his master's degree was the design of a bridge, a major bridge. So I said, wow, so it doesn't have to be just pie in the sky, esoterica, that a master's degree can actually be something of value to the world. I said, that's amazing. Then I remember hearing that one of my professors, I think it was at Queens College, had 2 master's degrees and a PhD. I thought he was like a mental god. So I figured that's something for me to shoot for. So I achieved 2 master's degrees and a PhD. And by the way, my master's degree was published in a Harvard University journal. I never talk about it. And my PhD dissertation became a book. Very unusual if you understand anything about academics, because most of these most of these degrees are within the field and no one ever reads them. It's a little, but mine actually became something. They were worthwhile. And I'm very proud of them. I never talk about it because it has no relationship to the radio show in one way or the other. Yes, the undertext, the subtext in a way, because my mind is so well trained and I learned how to write so succinctly in science. That's why I speak so succinctly, incidentally. See, it is a product of my education. You say, oh, well, he speaks in a truck driver's accent like he's from Brooklyn. It doesn't matter what my accent is, does it? What matters is what my words actually are and what I mean and what I say. I know people who speak the King's English who speak pure rubbish. So what's the difference? There's a huge difference. I mean, do you want content or do you want accent? That's all. So here we are. Sorry if I got off the... Actually, I'm not sorry about anything. That's what a radio show is.